3 seconds. That's all it took for everything to change on Monday Night Raw. 3 seconds before Braun Breaker and Paul Heyman were left broken, bloodied, and unconscious in the parking lot. And if you think you know who did it, you're about to have your mind completely blown. Smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell right now because you do not want to miss what's coming next on Hardcore Highlights. Let me paint you the picture of what went down on December 8th, because this wasn't just another attack. This wasn't some random assault. This was calculated. This was personal. And this was the kind of chaos that reminds us why we fell in love with professional wrestling in the first place. The night started like any other episode of Raw. The pyro hit, the crowd was electric, and we were ready for another 3 hours of sports entertainment. Braun Breaker, the Intercontinental Champion, the genetic freak who's been tearing through the roster like a tornado through a trailer park, was scheduled to address his next challenger. Paul Heyman, the wise man himself, the special counsel to Roman Reigns and the greatest advocate in wrestling history, was there to conduct business, make deals, and do what he does best, talk. But neither of them would make it to that ring. Security footage, which WWE conveniently released in grainy, mysterious fashion, showed both men arriving at the arena within minutes of each other. Breaker pulled up in his vehicle, that characteristic intensity etched across his face. Heyman arrived in his usual fashion, phone pressed to his ear, probably wheeling and dealing before he even stepped foot inside the building. They parked in adjacent spots. They both grabbed their bags. And then the lights went out. Now here's where it gets absolutely insane. When those lights flickered back on just seconds later, both men were down. Not just down, laid out. Breaker, a man who's been compared to his uncle Rick Steiner and his father Scott Steiner, a second-generation powerhouse who's built like he was carved from granite, was sprawled across the concrete. Heyman, the man who talks his way out of everything, who survived decades in this business by being smarter than everyone else in the room, was motionless beside his rental car. The medical team rushed to the scene. Referees, producers, and backstage personnel flooded the parking lot. And the question on everyone's lips, the question that's been burning up social media for days now, is simple: who did this? Let's talk about the suspects because this list is longer than a CVS receipt, and every single name on it has motive, means, and opportunity. We're going to break down each possibility, look at the evidence, and by the end of this video, I'm going to tell you exactly who I think is behind this attack. But I want you to drop your theory in the comments right now before we continue. Who do you think did it? Because I guarantee some of you are going to be shocked by what we uncover. First suspect, Ludwig Kaiser. This one seems obvious, right? Kaiser has been gunning for Braun Breaker's Intercontinental Championship for weeks. He's got the European arrogance, the technical skill, and the desperate hunger of a man who needs to prove he can step out of Gunther's shadow. Kaiser has been vocal about deserving a title shot, and taking out Breaker before their match would be a strategic move. But here's the problem with this theory: why Paul Heyman? What does Ludwig Kaiser gain from attacking Paul Heyman? Unless there's a connection we don't know about, unless Kaiser is working with someone who has beef with the wise man, this attack doesn't fully make sense as a Kaiser solo operation. Plus, Kaiser is a wrestler who prides himself on winning with skill and technique. A parking lot ambush feels beneath him, doesn't it? Or maybe that's exactly what he wants us to think. Second suspect, Solo Sikoa and the New Bloodline. Now we're getting somewhere interesting. Paul Heyman betrayed the Bloodline. He turned his back on Solo Sikoa, refused to acknowledge him as the tribal chief, and has been openly supporting Roman Reigns' inevitable return. Heyman made Solo look like a fool on multiple occasions, undermined his authority, and basically said the New Bloodline is nothing without Roman. That's motive right there. But what about Braun Breaker? Here's where it gets spicy. Breaker has been dominating the midcard, collecting wins, and building momentum. He's exactly the kind of threat that a paranoid faction leader like Solo Sikoa would want to neutralize before he becomes a main event problem. Taking out both men in one swoop sends a message: nobody disrespects the Bloodline. Nobody questions our power. And if you do, you end up unconscious in a parking lot. The Bloodline has the numbers, the ruthlessness, and the track record of parking lot attacks. Remember when they took out Kevin Owens? Remember the brutality they've shown to anyone who stands in their way? This theory has legs, and strong ones at that. Third suspect, someone from Braun Breaker's past. This is the dark horse theory, the one that casual fans might not see coming but hardcore fans will appreciate. Breaker has demolished everyone in his path since coming to the main roster. He's ended careers, crushed dreams, and made a lot of enemies. What if someone he wronged in NXT followed him to Raw? What if someone who's been waiting for the perfect moment decided now was the time to strike? We've seen it happen before in wrestling. Patience is a virtue, and revenge is a dish best served cold in a parking lot with the lights turned off. As for Heyman being collateral damage, maybe he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Or maybe, just maybe, this mystery attacker has history with both men that we don't know about yet. Fourth suspect, CM Punk. Yes, I'm going there. Before you flood the comments telling me Punk is on SmackDown, hear me out. Punk has history with Paul Heyman that runs deep. They were allies, they were brothers, and then there was betrayal. Wrestling has a long memory, and Punk is exactly the kind of guy who would show up where he's not supposed to be, cause absolute chaos, and disappear into the night. As for Braun Breaker, Punk's made it clear he wants to fight the best, the toughest, the most dangerous competitors in WWE. Taking out Breaker makes a statement. It says I'm not just here for titles, I'm here to dismantle the new generation before they can replace me. It's a reach, I'll admit, but in wrestling, the most shocking swerve is often the one nobody sees coming. Fifth suspect, Roman Reigns, the tribal chief himself. Think about it. Roman has been away from WWE television, but we know he's been watching. We know he's aware of everything happening with his family, his legacy, and his advocate. Paul Heyman has been singing Roman's praises, keeping his seat warm, and waiting for his return. But what if Roman doesn't want to come back just yet? What if he needed something to happen that would force his hand, create maximum drama, and set up the biggest return in wrestling history? By orchestrating an attack on his own advocate, Roman creates sympathy for Heyman, makes himself look like the hero when he returns to avenge him, and gets to take out Braun Breaker in the process, eliminating a future threat to his throne. It's devious, it's calculated, and it's exactly the kind of big brain move we'd expect from the head of the table. But here's where I'm going to blow your mind with a sixth possibility that nobody's talking about. What if it wasn't just one person? What if this was a conspiracy involving multiple attackers with different motivations who happened to strike at the same moment? Wrestling loves a good conspiracy. What if Ludwig Kaiser attacked Braun Breaker for the championship, while simultaneously, Solo Siko's bloodline attacked Paul Heyman for disrespecting them? The timing seems too perfect to be coincidence. Both men, taken out simultaneously, suggests coordination or incredible timing. This could be the beginning of something much bigger than a simple assault. This could be the opening move in a war that's going to consume Raw for months to come. Let's examine the evidence more closely. The security footage shows the lights went out for exactly 7 seconds. That's significant in wrestling numerology, but more importantly, that's barely enough time for someone to strike and disappear. Whoever did this knew the arena's layout, knew where the cameras were, knew how to cut the power, and knew exactly when both men would be vulnerable. This wasn't opportunistic. This was planned with military precision. The attacker, or attackers, left no evidence behind. No dropped weapon, no torn clothing, no witnesses. In an era where everyone has a cell phone camera, where social media captures everything, how does someone pull off a double assault and leave zero trace? That takes skill, resources, and inside knowledge. There's also the question of what happened during those 7 seconds. Braun Breaker is one of the most explosive, athletic, and powerful performers on the roster. You don't take him down easy. Even if you catch him off guard, he's going to fight back. The fact that he was incapacitated so quickly suggests either overwhelming force, multiple attackers, or someone he trusted getting close enough to strike before he could react. Heyman, while not a physical threat, is paranoid and cautious after decades of dealing with wrestlers who want to hurt him. He doesn't let his guard down easily. For both men to be taken out simultaneously without either landing a defense or raising an alarm speaks to either incredible speed or a betrayal from someone they didn't see as a threat. WWE's response to this attack has been equally mysterious. Instead of launching an immediate investigation, instead of canceling matches or heightening security, they've let the mystery simmer. They've released just enough footage to drive speculation but not enough to reveal the truth. That's classic WWE storytelling. They want us talking, theorizing, and staying tuned every single week to see if we get another clue. And you know what? It's working. The wrestling world hasn't been this united in speculation since the anonymous Raw general manager storyline, and we all remember how that turned out. The implications of this attack extend far beyond just one episode of Raw. Braun Breaker's Intercontinental Championship reign, which has been dominant and seemingly unstoppable, now has an asterisk. Can he defend himself outside the controlled environment of the ring? Is the parking lot his kryptonite? For Paul Heyman, this attack represents a vulnerability we rarely see. The man who always has a plan, who always has an escape route, got caught completely off guard. That changes power dynamics across the entire roster. If Paul Heyman can be taken out, nobody is safe. If Braun Breaker can be laid out in seconds, nobody is untouchable. Looking forward, there are several ways this storyline could develop. We could get a gradual reveal where each week gives us another piece of the puzzle. We could get a shocking unmasking at a premium live event where the attacker's identity becomes the centerpiece of a major pay-per-view match. We could even get a swerve where the person we least suspect is revealed to be the mastermind, someone we thought was an ally all along. Wrestling thrives on these moments of uncertainty, these periods where anything can happen and usually does. For my money, here's what I think happened. I believe this was a coordinated attack by the new bloodline, specifically orchestrated by Solo Sikoa with help from Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. The motive for attacking Heyman is obvious, crystal clear revenge for his betrayal and disrespect. The reason for taking out Braun Breaker is strategic, eliminating a rising threat before he becomes uncontrollable. The bloodline has the resources to cut power, the numbers to overwhelm even someone as powerful as Breaker, and the ruthless mentality to execute a plan this bold. They've done it before, and they'll do it again. This attack re-establishes them as the most dangerous faction in WWE, proves they don't need Roman Reigns to be feared, and sets up multiple feuds that can carry Raw through WrestleMania season. But that's just my theory, and in wrestling, the truth is often stranger than fiction. The beauty of a mystery like this is that every fan becomes a detective, every clue becomes evidence, and every episode of Raw becomes must-see television because this week might be the week we finally get answers. Whether you agree with my conclusion or think I'm completely wrong, whether you believe it's Solo Sikoa, Ludwig Kaiser, or some completely unexpected name we haven't even considered, one thing is certain: WWE has us exactly where they want us, on the edge of our seats, hungry for resolution. The attack on Braun Breaker and Paul Heyman on December 8 wasn't just a moment of violence. It was a statement. It was a declaration that no one is safe, that the rules can change in an instant, and that the parking lot of a WWE arena is just as dangerous as the ring itself. As we wait for answers, as we analyze every segment and scrutinize every interaction, remember that wrestling is at its best when we're all asking the same question: what happens next? Drop your theories in the comments right now. Tell me who you think did it and why. Are you Team Solo Sikoa? Team Ludwig Kaiser? Team Mystery Attacker? Let's discuss, debate, and figure this out together. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, if you want more deep dives into the biggest storylines in wrestling, make sure you're subscribed to Hardcore Highlights with that notification bell turned on, because we're going to be covering every development in this story until we get the truth. This is the kind of storytelling that reminds us why we love this business, and trust me, the payoff is going to be absolutely incredible. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.